All right.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ink and Paint, our first episode of 2022. We are excited to be back here with all of you. My name is Jill Diffendahl. I'm your co-host along with Ashley Jasmer.
Hey, everybody.
And tonight we are joined by our illustrious panel, as we like to say. We've got Emma.
Happy New Year, I guess. What's up, guys?
Good enough. And I say that as literally I'm hearing enchantment fireworks going off outside my window. I can hear the boom, so it feels appropriate. And Shannon as well.
Kungaloosh. Happy 2022, everyone.
Happy 2022. So to kick off another hopefully better year, I think, than 2021 wound up turning out to be with COVID. We are going to talk about our hopes for the Disney parks in 2022. What we want to see happen, what we want to see show up, what we want to maybe see go away, what we want to see come back. So we're going to talk about all of the things we want to see, and we are going to also keep an eye on the chat and talk about some of the things that you guys share with us in the chat. And we somewhere have weird music.
Sorry, I don't know what happened with my
computer. I didn't know where the music was coming from.
Everybody. We're doing great. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. I'm just glad I figured out the intro music didn't start up right away, and I figured that out really quick. Okay, so I'm going to start with Ashley to kick it off and share what's give us one or two of, I mean, we can kind of just keep going and talk about each thing, but just let's just start with one. What's like the biggest thing you want to see change in Disney in 2022?
If I had to choose the biggest thing, obviously the easy answer would be Chapek, but I personally think that just improving the guest experience. I want them to either get rid of Genie or dial it in better. I want resellers to be banned from the parks, or at least given like a warning shot, like, hey, we're going to stop this. This is not cool to do anymore. It's gotten completely out of hand. Because 7 hours for a Figment popcorn bucket is just ridiculous. And the fact, like, and I know everybody's blaming the resellers, and obviously they were a big part of the problem, but the reality is, like, everybody wanted this popcorn bucket. Like, from the minute it got released on social media that this popcorn bucket was coming, it was everywhere. Like, they knew it was going to be in high demand, regardless of resellers. Why was there not a virtual queue? Why was it at a booth where people were also trying to get food? Why? Just why? So many questions of why. And it really just boils down to they did not give a care at all about guest experience in trying to get that popcorn bucket. And so that's what I want to see.
I love that answer, because I think it encompasses a lot of things that a lot of us want to see happen. And it's all little things, right? But it all adds up to terrible guest experience. I was at Epcot on Friday when the line situation happened. So apparently at first it's sold at one of the food booths at the Festival of the Arts. In case you aren't aware, it's literally sold at one of the food booths. It's not its own separate thing. It is at a food booth.
It's Pop Eats.
Is it the Pop one?
It's
Everything Pop?
It's
Pop Eats. That's what it is.
When people initially in the morning walked up and said, "Can I order food? I'm not here for the popcorn bucket. Can I just like order the food you're serving?" They were like, no. They didn't even have that figured out. Like, how did they not, like, they would have wound up, if they hadn't figured out a way to fix that, they would have wound up probably having to throw away all the food they had prepped for that entire day.
Yeah.
Because everyone, the entire day long was a 7-hour, I mean, it wasn't 7 hours all day long, but I heard people, when I was walking into the park in the afternoon, like everyone walking out, like I heard lots of people talking, I waited 5 hours, I waited 3.5 hours. A friend of mine who waited in line waited 4.5 hours. Like, it was insane. And I don't understand why is it so hard to get like a register on like a rolling podium and set up a bunch of them throughout the park and have like a couple of lines in secluded places. The line for the popcorn bucket was literally like taking up the entire main walkway from Future World into World Showcase. Why couldn't you set it up in places where you had more space, where you could manage people better, where you could set up stanchions and have like queues so people aren't just like wrapping around everywhere and can't even find, the line was so long you couldn't even find the end of the line. But it was like, they had to know that people wanted this popcorn bucket, and yet they did nothing to plan for anybody to have a good time. And then think of all the things that those people didn't buy because they were waiting in line for 7 hours for a popcorn bucket. You know? Like, they're
not buying food, not buying other merch, like just there's
not buying anything else. Right, because how much was the popcorn bucket? Like 20, 30 bucks?
25. I think it was 25.
25, yeah. So you got $25 out of those people for the day. Because if I waited even 4.5 hours, screw it, I'm going home. Which
is like 3 or 4, and like those people were probably starving. They would have had food. They would have wanted something to drink. I'm sure they probably went and got something to drink. Like, if I pity the person who was waiting in line by themselves and didn't have someone to like relieve them to go get something to drink or use the restroom or whatever that had to be. Although there's probably a lot of like inline camaraderie at that point. Like, can you save my space for 5 minutes?
Right.
But still, like it was
selling it at like, here's a novel idea: selling it at a popcorn cart.
Sell it at all the popcorn carts. There are several popcorn carts
all of them.
All of them, yeah, because I feel like, they kind of did, like, it was still a little wonky, but even on the 50th when they did the balloon popcorn buckets, they had
crazy. I thought that was insane.
That was insane, but it at least diversified the line a little bit. So, I mean, all of them were about 2 hours, which is crazy, but 2 hours versus 8 hours, I'd choose the 2 hours.
Right. You can choose whether to get in the next line or not. You can say, I want to commit my whole day, but at least if you wait the 8 total hours, you wind up with 4 popcorn buckets, not 1. You get your whole collection and you have a break in between to go to the bathroom or get something to eat or go on a ride or whatever it is you want to do. You don't have to do it like nonstop from like without having any kind of break in between.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't wait in Flight of Passage to go on Flight of Passage for that long. And like, that was longer than the longest Flight of Passage wait I've ever heard of. So to me, it's just a waste of a day. Like, and again, I am a big popcorn bucket person. Like, I love all the specialty ones that they've been doing for the 50th, and this Figment one is really cute, but they should have planned better. Like, they've been doing this virtual queue stuff. Like, even if they could only sell it at one place, why didn't they do a virtual queue? That's what is really blowing my mind.
Like, yes,
bring back people. I mean, they do it. They figured out how to do it.
This was the time to do it.
World of Disney, for everything. Gideon's figured out how to do it for cookies. Like, let people come back like 20, 30, 40 at a time, come back at your time and get in line so you're not waiting all day. They figured out how to do it on the 50th. So why couldn't they figure out how to do it for this?
Right. And so that's kind of like, I guess, my hope, in other words, is that the technology, and not always, I feel like that's always our hope with Disney, is that it's going to get better. But like that the virtual queue and the Genie and Genie Plus stuff does get better. Because, I mean, I have a feeling it's not really going away because people are buying it and they're paying for Lightning Link and they're paying for Genie Plus. So it's going to be here for a bit, unfortunately. So I just hope that they really take the time to work out the kinks, make it a better guest experience. Again, going back to that point that we're probably going to be hammering home all evening. But, they just truly need to put their money where their mouth is and do the work so that way people will want to come back.
Yeah, and so that was another thing Ashley mentioned was doing something about Genie Plus, because that's on my list too. Ever since Genie Plus, like, to me that is like, I know the popcorn bucket thing was insane, but it was a one-off experience. Genie Plus messes up your park experience every single day because they have not figured out how to adequately balance lightning lane with standby lines. Every single standby line I have waited in since Genie Plus started has been significantly longer than the posted wait time. They have not been able to figure it out in the slightest how to adequately, like, properly balance the lightning lane in, like, influx of people with the standby influx of people. And you can't expect people to pay for lightning lane every single day they're at the park. I mean, if you're at the park with a family of 4 for 5 days, you're talking about what, $300 extra. Like, if you want to, and that doesn't include, the premier rides like Rise of the Resistance,
Right.
which you might not even be able to get the lightning lane up because it sells out so fast. So it's just, it's frustrating that Disney's really like I feel like hogtied the average guest who doesn't want to pay for lightning lane every day. And basically, like, if you want to ride an attraction, you're going to, like, go in calculating at least 50% longer than the posted wait time. Like, even the other day, I tried to ride Star Tours and it said it was a 25-minute wait. And after standing in line, I mean, the queue started outside. After 15 minutes, we still hadn't even gotten into the building. And they said the wait time was 25 minutes. Like, they just don't know what they're doing. And the standby lines move so slowly. It's like, it's so painful. And I feel like they're going to be ruining, like, the average Disney guest experience with this.
Right. I think the problem that we're seeing, and like the times do sell out throughout the day, but I think the problem is that there's no limit on who can buy Genie Plus. So, then you have to have X amount of reservations open for those people. So that way people actually have something to book for, with what they're paying that $15 for. So that's the thing. Like, we need to bring the old fast pass system back. Like that's just what it needs to be. Even if it's max pass, like we just need that old system back, because even though the standby lines were longer, they're not this bad. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like it's just yeah. Go ahead, Ashley.
Like, well, yeah, just before the show, like I had mentioned to Jill when we were kind of talking about it, it's like, I don't, because, she was telling me a little bit about this, and it's like, I don't understand how it's this bad, because, granted, it took them some time to get the math and everything right when they introduced Fast Pass Plus. And, there was a period of time where there was a learning curve. But they already had all that data. They already knew how many Fast Passes they could assign per hour, per ride, whatever, and have it not completely jack up the standby line. Like, they had all of that math done. And it at least appears as if, I mean, how long is Fast Pass Plus around? 9 years? 10, 8, 9
Something
years?
like that.
Probably about.
Yeah, something.
8, 9. They just took all of that data and completely threw it out the window. And we're like, we're starting completely over. For why? Like, even if you're going to change the name and call it something else and charge for it, the math should still be the same. Like, it shouldn't. And you said the math was the same. The math is clearly not the same.
Maybe they don't care because they want people buying it rather than caring about, like, the number of people that are stuck in the standby line.
Answer. But even if people are buying it, you can choose, like, let them choose different return times and just, like, plan out their day, even if they're going to do 16 rides.
Right,
like,
and let them only choose so many return times at once. Like, don't let them just jump into any place anytime without having any control over what the influx is.
Well, that's the problem, is they're getting people the people who are paying for this right now are people who I don't know what that was, but that's scared I don't know if anyone heard that. It was a very loud noise outside my house. But the people who are paying for this are people who don't understand. Like they're all in. There was a woman in front of me in Joffrey's, and she was like, kind of talking to herself. She's like, I paid $300 something for my family, and like, you're telling me I can only pick one thing. Like she was so confused. I think people will just do it because they're not regulars. And then this is something, I don't know if I discussed this on Park Center or Ink and Paint, but it was a bizarre thing that happened to me in November that I'd never seen before. And my husband and I got in line for Rock and Roller Coaster single rider, and the line was pretty long. And there was actually an announcement made to say, if you are standing in single rider, you are going to be waiting just as long, if not longer, than standby. So they were like discouraging people from using single rider. So my husband and I could tell, like I've ridden that ride enough times to know that it was long. So we bailed. When we walked out, they closed the single rider line because it's like they know people are trying to cheat the system.
Well, I mean, I've literally been a single rider, and that's made me so angry because I am truly one person. I'm not a big party that's going to be split up. Like, but that's it's gotten so bad that people don't want to pay the exorbitant amount of money it is for Lightning Lane, or like they don't want to deal with the struggle of not getting the reservation time because they sell out like that at the beginning of the day, especially in studios. So then the single rider line gets bogged down. And I think I waited like an hour and then it was back open. But it happens around like, I would say like 2 hours after park open is generally when they have to close it off.
I want to mention one more thing that Doug said in the chat a while ago. And it was about making an easier experience trying to get dining reservations. So I don't know if you guys have gone through the same thing, but when my sister and I have to tag team for our family, and we literally grabbed whatever we could get. And guess what? We already had our park reservations. So that all got screwed up because there was one time we can snag an Ohana, whatever it was, didn't matter if it was 3:30 on Friday, we had to rearrange our whole week. So I think there's a lot with that too, that I hope is going to get better with this new reservation system, this new world we're living in.
So that kind of dovetails into what's probably at the top of my list. And I know Disney only has so much control over this, and it's not like Disney's not trying to do it, but they need more cast members. They are so deficient in cast members right now. It's insane. And I think dining is one of the biggest places you see that. I went to Topolino recently, which is an impossible reservation to get for whether it's breakfast, dinner, whatever. It's an impossible reservation to get. But you get that impossible reservation, and then you walk into the restaurant and it's half empty because they just don't have the cast members to staff it. So I feel your pain, and I think there are absolutely going to continue to be times where there are going to continue to be restaurants where it's really difficult to get a reservation. We've got those handful. Ohana's tough. Chef Mickey's is tough because people like the character dining. I'm really excited because Flying Fish is coming back, and that's one of my favorites, and thankfully not one that's super hard to get a reservation for. But it's like they probably could have twice as many people seated in a restaurant as they do right now because staffing is so low. And even like, not only do they have to restrict the number of tables that they seat, but they even can't turn them over as fast as they should be able to because the servers are like already overbooked with tables. Any individual server has way too many tables, so your service is slow. That then, again, back to guest experience. And it's not the server's fault. It's the fact that they're asking him to take like 7 or 8 tables instead of like the 4 or 5 that he probably should have because they just don't have enough staff.
I mean,
I don't know. It's almost like they shouldn't have fired 28,000 people and then voted to restore.
It's almost like they shouldn't have fired 28,000 people.
Maybe. I'm just an observation.
Just a wild guess.
Well, because even with the college program coming back, like, excuse me, oops.
We're all having weird
This is the problem with living on Broad Street. Anyway, sorry, friends. I was saying, even with the college, and there it goes again, even with the college program coming back, they took such a huge deficit in the number of people that they had because they furloughed and then laid off. And then, of course, like if that happened to you, like you have to move on and get another job. So like, why would you want to come back? And especially in fear that that could happen again. You know, so I don't blame those cast members for not wanting to come back, but like until we have the international program back, like there's no, especially in Epcot, like there's no way that those dining positions are going to be able to be filled. I think.
Yeah, and I mean just the optics of it. Hey, we're solidary with you. We're gonna cut, our salary so that we can keep you on, and then everything goes on for a little bit longer than you were probably anticipating. And no, we're just going to let you all go. And, oh, by the way, next week we're restoring our full salaries.
Yeah. And it's like it's shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, like if you were a loyal cast member for 10, 15, even 5 years or a year, if it were me, forget that. As much as I'm sure I would still love the parks and everything and have wonderful memories, from a pure, why would you sign up to go back to that?
Yeah.
Right. And also as far as like, I just feel bad for how cast members are being treated sometimes because, you see all these fights breaking out and people just getting so angry and so entitled because they're being charged more and more and more just to get to Disney, and then to get on all the rides that you want to get on within a week span, then you all of a sudden have to pay to play with this Genie Plus and Lightning Lane thing. So that's just making tensions even more high. And then now you have overworked cast members who are constantly dealing with these people day in and day out. So it's just morale is, it can't be, I can't imagine what it's like right now.
Well, and coupled with they train them a lot less than they used to. Used to get like 2 or 3 days of training as a cast member, and now you maybe get half a day of like the Disney way, and it's
Jesus.
They don't invest in their cast members the way they used to. And so I think that bringing back not just the people, but like showing them they're not going to come back in droves because they don't feel like Disney cares about them, and Disney has done a lot to demonstrate that they don't care about them. It's a shame.
I mean, my sister moved down last year, and she applied to both Disney and Universal, and she hadn't quite gotten the interview and everything worked out for Disney, but she got the call for Universal. She got hired on with Universal to work in Harry Potter. She got full training. She got, as a part-time, they gave her benefits at 30 days.
Wow.
They bumped her up to full-time after, like, her 90-day probationary period or whatever. And she's had a fantastic time. She's like, yeah, sometimes, people are jerks and everything, but overall, the company treats me really well. She's like, talking to people that work for both, or even just, that she's met down in Orlando, she's like, yeah, everything. She's like, as much, I don't want to go work for them now because as much as I love the parks, I think I would hate them if I worked for people who treated me that way. It's like, you're probably right. It would ruin the magic.
There was a slight opening and Universal ran away with it. They saw an opportunity starting at the beginning of this pandemic, and they continue to kill it, and they're continuing to get people who would normally not leave the parks, and then exasperated by, the issues of No More Magical Express. It's just more reason for people to leave. So Disney, I don't know why they think they're invincible, that they have these people forever. It's not going to work.
And guess what? Can I also say, Epic Universe is under construction, and when that opens, like it's going to be you're absolutely right. Universal took that little crack in the door and shoved it wide open.
And let me just say, they have this new ride crowd control thing down to a science at Universal now, because I have never had a bad experience on Velocicoaster when it comes to waiting. I think it's always been they under promise, over deliver with the wait time, and it's super efficient. It's super great, and so I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Epic Universe. But I think you're going to see a big, people spending a week at Universal or splitting their time between Disney and Universal rather than staying on property at Disney for a full week.
Yeah, and I don't, I've been to Universal in the last couple of months where the crowds are pretty intense. Like as you're walking through the park, the crowds are pretty intense. But when you actually go to get in line for a ride, I've never waited longer than 45, 50 minutes for Velocicoaster. I've never waited more than a little over an hour for Hagrid's in standby because they know how to keep the lines controlled. And even, they have some attractions that are still down, like Poseidon never reopened so far, although fingers crossed it will soon. I know this is hope for Disney parks in 2022, but my hope for Universal is that they reopen Poseidon. They're really good at I think kind of spreading people out, and they're good at, keeping everything moving. I think they've done a lot better job of putting their cast member. I know team members, they have employment issues too, especially in some of the restaurants in City Walk. It's like it can get really bad, but I think they're doing a much better job at putting people where they need them the most so that the guests still have a positive experience where they don't feel like they're standing in line all day for everything.
Right. Well, I'm going to kind of segue to one of the things on my list since we kind of talked about Poseidon's Fury, which is sort of entertainment. But I'm hoping that Streetmosphere, all of it comes back this year because we saw a hint at Run Disney and it made me so excited. I was like, oh, does that mean it's coming? Is it coming? Can it? So I just really hope that it doesn't become like this specialty seasonal thing. I really want Streetmosphere to be in all the parks that it was in before. And just bring it back, bring those cast members back. Just go for it.
Yeah. An entertainment company having entertainment. Believe it.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Well, I feel like there's hope there. I mean, and granted, it seems to so far really only have been at Animal Kingdom, but we got Merry Menagerie. Divine is back.
So much love for
Kevin
that.
is coming back. So,
we'll have some kind of Nemo back at some point.
Yeah, some kind of something or other. Which once again, does not fully make sense. Like you're revamping. Like first you say you're closing it, you fire everybody, and then it's like, no, we're retooling and reworking, but it's also going to be a Nemo show. Probably because they saw how much it would cost to build new sets.
Yeah, and tear down the theater and build something new. I don't know why they had to change the show. The show was so good. I know there's a lot of people that don't agree with me on that, but the show is always packed. It's not like there were tons of empty seats in that theater.
No. Like, I'm definitely a Lion King over Nemo. Nemo wasn't my cup of tea, but I don't begrudge people who, like, objectively, it was a good show.
Mm-hmm.
And why... Like, again, just business decisions that don't make sense. Like, why fire all of those people before you clearly had a plan? Because all of those people, if nothing else, are very talented. You're still going to be doing a Nemo show. Why not at least give them the opportunity to re-audition and things like that internally before you just fire them all and leave them?
It's not even that. It's also, I think, with contract renewal, and I think this is how it works with equity, is that you have to give someone a raise like every 6 months that contract gets renewed. So I think it's that. I think it's a money thing, honestly.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I have to jump in and interrupt. Huge shout out to Rosita. She just gave us a $20 super chat.
Thanks, Rosita.
Hey, ladies, it's just nice to have you all back in campaign. Thank you so much. It's so nice to be back, Rosita. We really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for being an ongoing fan.
Yes, thank you so much. But no, it doesn't. Emma, you're probably right. It probably does just come down to money. But once again, just a stupid business decision.
Yes.
Why? Why close as you're starting to open things up, why not just bring the show back while you're figuring out what you're going to do? Because based on the announcements and how they rolled out, you cannot convince me that they already had a plan of what they were doing with the theater when they when they fired everybody. You will never convince me of that. I don't care. They had no plan. They were just like, we're gonna fire them and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, I think I don't know why they're making the changes to the show. Again, I think that's possibly a budgetary thing too, like whether it's they can pay people less because it's not as long of a show or what have you, which again, stupid. But I just remember it's sad that those cast members couldn't even like re-audition, like even if they lost seniority, for instance, and which would make sense, right? If it's a new show, it'd be a new contract. But like I think I remember, if I'm remembering correctly from the audition notices, or maybe at first I think it said that that current and like former or furloughed cast members could not audition for those roles. So.
But see,
I could be wrong because it's been a while, but I remember seeing something like that. It might not have been for that show, but there was another entertainment listing that listed that specifically.
But even with that, what costs you more money at the end of the day? Giving all of those cast members even $1 raise an hour when you're probably going to come back at limited shows? And again, like they could have modified the show to make it shorter. They did that with Lion King.
It's more than $1 raise. That's mandated by the union how much that raises every 6 months.
Well,
so they don't have any control over that.
I mean, fair. Okay, fine. Even like a $10 or $15 raise, I would still have to imagine that even in the short term, that would still be cheaper than all of the money that you are going to invest in writing, rehearsing, this whole new show that you're going to do, and auditions, and paying the cast members who have to hold the auditions, and the directors, and the rehearsals, and all of that jazz, at least in the short term, like not forever, but at least in the short term, that's still going to cost you more money than giving those cast members a raise and reopening the show.
No, I agree. They should honestly just reopen it to, give the guests something to do. Like, again, better guest experience,
especially
period.
Now that Everest is closed, what is there to do on that side of the park? Holly's closed, really. Everest is closed. You've torn down.
What are you going to do? Go see Kite Tails?
Yeah, you're going to go see Kite
Tails. If high winds, you're not.
Yep. You're going to potentially go see a kite nearly take out a jet ski. And then you're going to ride Dinosaur. And then you're done. Because you have Triceratops, Dinosaur, and Kite Tails. That's the only things on that side of the park.
Safari, yeah.
So there's something that's like, it's pretty far down my wish list of hopes for Disney in 2022, but please breathe new life into DinoLand. You tore down Primeval Whirl. Triceratops Spin. I love it. It's sweet and cute, but it's just a carnival spinner ride. It's literally hardly any different than any spinner ride you'd find in a carnival. There's 6 other versions of it throughout Disney, it feels like. Give us something. You've got all the arcade games, but you can move them around. Or if the rumors are true, retheme DinoLand to Indy and make Dinosaur Indiana Jones like it is in Disneyland, and give us some other fun Indy, sea ticket ride or something, and revamp that whole land, because it just
bring the roller coaster over here. Just bring the roller coaster to this coast, please.
I love it so much. It's so nostalgic and kitschy and fun, but it's showing its age, and it's sad, and I love I want to see it have its due again, because it's in pretty bad shape, especially now that there's just a big open pit where where Primeval World used to be.
Seating area.
Leaf had a good idea. He was make it an Asia expansion down kind of that far, and then that would be a great idea. And you could even do something like Indiana Jones-esque, but still have Dinosaur. And even if it wasn't Indy, you could do Jungle Book.
Mhm.
That would be cool.
Oh, you could totally do Jungle Book or Tarzan or something like that. Like, there's plenty of.
Or
I don't even think it
Raya.
needs to be Asia themed per se. It needs to be something. You could do Raya. I'm never going to lobby for any Raya like
No,
IP
but
based
hear me out though.
anything
Hear me out though. Hear me out
because
though.
it just
I think,
just wasn't good. Just
I
wasn't
know,
good.
but hear me out though. This could be cool because if they go back and find some Beastly Kingdom stuff that could work with a Raya theme, how sick would that be?
Or even
I
just
feel like all
Beastly
the
Kingdom
Beastly
in
Kingdom stuff
general.
got built in Universal. Like all of Beastly Kingdom
Probably.
is
Yeah.
what
A
was
lot.
Islands of Adventure.
Probably.
Although
Yeah.
half of that's gone now because they tore half of it down for
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure
one of
there's
my-
some remaining Beastly Kingdom attraction design sitting on a shelf somewhere
Or
in
even
Imagineering because they never get rid of all of it.
No. Or even just, run with that theme just in general and finally
Mhm.
build Beastly Kingdom. Like, obviously, it's not in the place that you planned it, but you can still
Mhm.
do it. And you can still
Yeah,
do
I don't
it.
know
And
that
again,
DinoLand is. But they can't get rid of all of Dinosaur because like you've got like the dinosaur is one of like the main like
right, but that's what I'm
icons for
saying.
Animal
But,
Kingdom.
Yeah.
That's true.
but I feel like you would have an easier sell rolling something like Beastly Kingdom to Emma's point and kind of combining it
true.
with Dinosaur. Because even though they're not mythical, like they're extinct animals, like you could still kind of weave those in together and have it work.
And then give us some sort of like Beastly Kingdom mythical creature show on the lagoon instead of kite tails.
If only.
If only.
Can you imagine?
That big, beautiful theater.
Who would have ever thought they
Yeah.
would say that they miss Rivers of Light? That's all I want to ask.
You know what
I
I,
don't-
forgot
I
about?
really
The Flying
wouldn't say that.
Dragon.
I don't
I
think I
forgot
missed
all about the
Rivers
Flying
of Light. I
Dragon
just
in
wish the kite show
Fantasyland.
was consistent. But nature is not that way.
I've never been able to see the kite show when it worked the way it was supposed to, and I actually don't know that I think anyone has ever seen the kite show work the way that it's supposed to. Like
Nope.
even when the big kites work, other stuff doesn't work.
I just want to know, what hex did somebody put on that river that no show works as God intended? Because they cannot catch a break with shows on that lagoon. And it doesn't seem like, I think they just need to accept the fact that they need to do something World of Color-esque because that would work so easily and so well. And they just are trying to avoid that.
I don't
And they
think
just
that
need
is
to do it.
like physically feasible because that's not just like World of Color is built on a like lagoon that is concrete underneath, and that's
Yeah.
not what that lagoon is. Like
That's
how
true.
what it would take to they'd have to drain everything like
happen.
pour concrete. You're on a swamp. Like I don't.
Yeah.
You'd have to run
That's
all
a
the
fair
like
point.
water
I
infrastructure.
didn't think about
Where would you route all the pipes? I think it would be great, but I can't. It would probably cost $500 million.
It would
for
be a
them to do that.
logistical nightmare.
And
Yeah.
then like there's
But
not
yeah,
enough seating for World
Alex
of
made a good
Color.
point though. We could. Fair. Alex made a good suggestion though. Do something electrical parade-esque.
Bring
like,
in
the
the electrical water pageant
17
and just run that.
Yeah, water pageant. That's my brain's not working tonight. But yes, the kite show belongs at Legoland.
I know.
Aw.
It's about that caliber. I'm sad to say.
Oh,
And like
man.
that's such a hallmark
a-
of like how much Disney is investing in the guest experience that they greenlit that show. I'm sorry, that show is like it's so like, you know, amateur league,
Do you feel
and
like- do
they
you
thought it was
feel
good
like
enough to put in a park.
Yeah. Do you feel like somebody threw it out as a joke and then they said, "Oh, that's a great idea," and he was like, "Wait, you're serious?" And then had to figure out how it was gonna work.
And didn't
I
they
don't know.
like learn their lesson from the kite situation at Epcot Forever? And
Clearly
like, how
they
that
didn't.
never went right.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I mean,
totally fine.
on a positive note, one thing that I want to see keep happening as my smaller hope for 2022, Disney merch game has been strong. And I also love, even though they're not all great, but all the snacks and treats that they seem to be rolling out every day. I love that. Keep up the creativity and keep up with the good merch. I remember for years I would go to the parks and it felt like it was the same merch every time. Where now I'm really having to make decisions and pick and choose what I want. So that was like my small hope, but on a big hope, we need a big announcement because Tron and Guardians are old. They're old news, even though they're not open.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's my hope is like getting both of them open in 2022, which I feel like is, it's probable, but it's far from definite that that's going to happen. I mean, I think Guardians will definitely open, but Tron is another story.
Unfortunately, I think Tron's being pushed back to 2023, which is really sad because it was supposed to be here on October 1st of this year or last year. Wow. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it was supposed to open before the
21.
And in conjunction with that, bring down some of those construction walls at Epcot. Like the stuff, like other than Journey of Water, like nothing they're building in there is like, they're not building attractions in there. You don't need like complicated ride systems and all that stuff. You're building like pavilion-y kind of stuff. Like you can throw up a pavilion in like a month or two. Like get that stuff fixed and stop making Future World feel like, it's just construction wall after construction wall with like nothing to actually, like you're ruining the beauty that is Epcot with that, and it's painful.
Yeah.
I mean, on the plus side though, we did get those really cool murals from all the Imagineers for Festival of the Arts, and like those are
Speaking of merch game, they need to make merch out of those posters because those construction wall posters are epic, and they're
seen
like what? Oh yeah, they're like big. I mean, huge, like probably like
they're murals, basically
6-foot mural type things on the construction walls. I think most of them are on the walls. Like if you're walking from World Showcase down that main, the main sort of bridge into Future World, they're right there in front of you, and they're gorgeous. Like this year they had them last year too, and the ones last year were sort of like tributes to attractions. They had a World of Motion one, they had an Imagination one, but these are like cool. I think a little bit more conceptual, and they're beautiful.
Noted.
But that's what I want merch of. But no, I totally agree with your point, Shannon. I think they've really stepped up their merch game. Oh yeah, the train coming back.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously, when's that coming back? Good Lord.
Well, I don't think the train can come back really until Tron is done. And if Tron is getting, bumps, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, that's the thing. They really need to make a big attraction announcement. And unfortunately, I think the only thing that we might hear is what's happening with Splash Mountain and that Princess and the Frog theme that they talked about. Like, hopefully we'll see some more like concept art or some sign of life with that happening, like maybe announcing, again, even if it's an approximate date, like a month and a year of like when they're actually going to close it for a lengthy period of time. I think again, I hate to be a pessimist about what's coming for D23 Expo, but I think that's the only like major attraction announcement we're going to hear for this coast.
Yeah, considering we didn't get like any real announcements of anything substantial at Destination D, like I don't see a whole lot coming at D23 either. I think they've overextended themselves so much with construction and Tron and Guardians. They're so far behind where they're supposed to be that I don't think we're going to hear anything new really this year. And quick interrupt. We got another super chat, this time from our good friend Living the Dream. Thank you so much. It's great to have you.
Thank you,
especially the rant. Yep. Thank you for the great content, ladies. You are so welcome, and we're glad you appreciate the rants. It's one of our favorite things.
That's awesome.
Or mine, anyway. It's one of my favorite things.
Yes. Is it mean that I really hope, like, they can still retheme Splash Mountain because I understand that it is problematic, but I really hope that the Princess and the Frog idea dies. because I
They
just don't.
They can't go back on that
care.
now. There's no way.
I think,
they can't.
It's too much of a political statement.
I honestly think that they might, because I think if they were really serious about it, they would have already pulled the trigger. They would have pulled the trigger before they started doing all the work on Future World. Honestly, that's what I think. Because they announced it back in what, 2020? It was during COVID. It was 2020.
It was like last summer. Here's the thing. I don't think they know what they're doing. I think the reason they made an announcement with some like quickly produced concept art, but there is not an actual like Imagineering plan or like blueprints or anything for what they're actually. I think that's what they're working on. But I think they don't have enough of anything to go on to really like actually tell anyone what they're going to do with it.
But it scares me because it's not going to do Tiana justice. And in one way, it's like, fine, do it. Shoot yourself in the foot, and it's going to be terrible, and everyone's going to mock you for it, and know that you just threw something together, to Shannon's point, as a political statement. But Tiana's one of my favorites. Like, it's a beautiful movie. I love the story. I love the soundtrack. I want them to see her do it justice. She deserves an original attraction. She deserves Tiana's place at Port Orleans. Like, she deserves so much more than a half-assed overlay of an existing attraction.
And someone had the idea.
I have a good feeling that that's what it's going to be.
I don't remember who, but someone had mentioned a while back about Tom Sawyer Island. I agree, making Tiana's place at Port Orleans makes total sense. Why not make a swamp, like, bayou type thing on Tom Sawyer Island?
That'd be great. Yeah, and you could have meet and greets in there and everything. Like, it'd be so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, they've done other
better ways to get to Tom Sawyer Island, but that's a different conversation.
That's
how hard it is to get to Tom Sawyer Island.
That is, yeah. But I feel like they could fix that too. Like yes, I know the boats kind of present a logistical issue with the riverboat, but you could do like a drawbridge situation if you really, really wanted to.
Oh, for sure.
But
yeah, I think like at the end of the day, I think we might get that because they've had enough time to work on something now. But beyond that, I don't foresee them really announcing a whole lot else because I just don't. I don't think they have the capacity. I think they've really overstretched themselves in terms of like building anything new. Mm-hmm. They've already got all this stuff at Epcot that they're still like taking forever to get done. Tron should have been done months ago.
Years ago at this point, because Tron started, that was under construction back in 2019.
Right, and it's
Tron
a duplicate of another ride. Year. Yeah, and it's an exact copy of one that they've already built. So, like, it's not like they had to come up with new plans or anything. They just had to shoehorn it into the park.
Yep.
Yeah, like, I know we've made the point before, but, Universal, once again, they designed, built, and opened a new attraction in less time than it has taken them to do Tron.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and a couple of people have said in chat they don't have the Imagineering talent. No, because they have done everything.
Because they let them all go.
Right.
They've either let them go or they're forcing them to move, and they don't want to move, so they're leaving. Like, it's just this is what happens when you continually treat your people badly. Eventually they will go, and you will not have people to actually execute the work that you're trying to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a shame.
It is a shame.
So, is there anything else like positive? Oh, here's another thing I wanted to mention about what I am looking forward to. I feel like hopes might be a misnomer on the title of this episode because I think we're talking about fears and hopes. But the other thing, and this is like selfish on my part, but the other thing, well, probably not only on my part, but the other thing I really want to see is them to allow people back into Japan so I can go to Tokyo Disney finally.
Yeah.
Which has
Correct.
been like denied now for 2 years, and I really want to go to Tokyo. And I know there's a lot of other people in WDWNT staff and fan community who are also very anxious to get to Tokyo. So let's hope that happens as well. And in part, not only to be, selfish for me, but I think because it also means a lot. It would serve as a pretty good like watershed moment for where we are with COVID, that things have turned around enough that that's a possibility again.
Yeah. One other positive thing, and it went by so fast, so I apologize to whomever it was. But one other positive thing that I want them to do more of, the little Rainbow Connection show that they have done on Spaceship Earth for
So
festivals
cute.
here.
So
I'm
thoughtful.
so excited to see it. I will probably cry because that has been Audrey's like lullaby since she's been born. Was Rainbow Connection. So yeah, but I want them like do more stuff like that. Why are we not getting more cute little things? You have all this technology now. There should be.
In the scheme of things Disney has done that like we were terrified were going to be terrible and then turned out to be pretty good. Like for me personally, I know this is not a completely universally held feeling, but I think they did an excellent job with what they did with Jungle Cruise. I think the refurb and the changes on Jungle Cruise are excellent. And it feels like they cared. I know when they announced that they were changing the lights on Spaceship Earth for the Beacons of Magic for the 50th, everybody was like terrified because they loved the lights on Spaceship Earth. It was like such a part of what you felt like Epcot was after dark. And then, the Spaceship Earth lights, and we made fun of them. We made fun of them the entire time they were being installed. Oh, yeah. And then they happen, and they're so great.
Beautiful.
Like they
are.
They're so fantastic, and the Rainbow Connection show is just such a perfect like way to capitalize on that. And I think they're going to realize, like, I don't think that was all that particularly complicated for them to do. They did it for a festival. Like, when does Epcot do something that big for a festival opening? But I think if they saw how popular it was, I think they're going to keep doing stuff like that because it's not that hard and it makes people happy. And so, I actually think that is something that we're going to probably see. That this will not be the last, special show they do on the lights on Spaceship Earth in 2022, because it was not that hard to do and it became really popular.
Oh, I agree. I mean, we already saw that they did. Oh, sorry. I saw that they did this special one. They had a special holiday overlay. And so then they had this festival one. So like, I really hope that they, it gives me hope that there is someone creative left who is doing these little thoughtful things that are a surprise and delight, as we like to say. So I hope that they really do continue with these throughout the year. And honestly, that park entrance has become my new favorite, with the points of light and the running light around the tap styles and all that. It's stunning, and I hope they keep taking care of it and keep doing thoughtful things.
Animal Kingdom will always be my favorite. And speaking of those little shows, and again, my brain is just done today, but the projection show they do on Tree of Life that I can't for the life of me think of the name right now.
Tree of Life
Awakening. There we go. I knew it was something. But those are really cute. And the tree is really gorgeous also. That will forever and away be my favorite. And I love that they, kind of change it. Similar to this, they kind of, they had the holiday tag and everything. Like, they kind of change up and do those different. And they have several that are kind of in rotation at a time. But yeah, I really hope that they do more of this. And Epcot is very much now, I think, probably my second favorite at night, which I would not have said probably before Points of Light. Like, they've done a really good job. I will give them props to that. And that's, for a hopeful thing, I hope things like that and little touches to make things special continue. I don't know that I have faith.
As long as we keep up with those light bulbs, because if that Spaceship Earth starts to look like the Grand or Yacht and Beach Club with
Oh God,
a
I mean, that's
million
true.
burnt out light bulbs.
Yep.
Sorry
I
to be a
will
Debbie
die.
Downer.
Well, then we can just play the game.
into the
You know?
universe.
We can play connect the dots
Yeah.
of the burnt out light bulbs.
Oh.
So, anything else on anyone's list of things they're hoping for this year in the parks?
I just want to see all the loose ends tied up, all those last things to reopen. You know, we're getting more restaurants. I want to see the spas reopen, all of them. I want to see even some of the restaurants open full time, like Yachtsman and Cruise Cup is one of my favorite lounges, still only open like 4 nights a week. So I really just want to see all those odds and ends get taken care of. That's my hope.
I think to add to that, Shannon, I think my odds and ends thing is character meet and greets, like actually making them meet and greets again. Like I think there's a way now that we can safely, you know, since there already is an attendant there, have like some of them passing an autograph book and, you know, having a photo pass person there, which again probably isn't possible because of staffing issues right now. Like I'm sure the people that they have are spread thin enough as it is, but you know,
We'll bring out the box. The photo pass
Right.
box that takes
Right,
pictures.
or something. But anyway, just to
Those
have
work
some kind
so
of just some kind of photo op there, like an actual one, especially since they're charging now separately for pass holders. You have to pay for photo pass separately now. So to get that back to as normal as they can, even if they still have to distance those characters. But let's get those back this year.
Let's get a parade back this year. Like you could do it for the
yeah.
Christmas
Yeah.
party. You could do it for the Christmas party. I don't think there's any reason you can't bring back. And maybe it's like in a different capacity. Maybe you're running Festival of Fantasy, but you're not running the whole thing at once, or you're like doing a little bit and then doing a little bit later. Just I need Maleficent back, breathing fire in the park. I need that back in my life.
Well, they already said that's not happening, sadly. That's going to be saved for after hours.
Well,
I'm fine with
for
that.
things that
I will do a hard ticket event just to see her.
Well, things that we know aren't going away, but I would hope. Just park passes in general. I think we've kind of reached probably a point where, I mean, you did it all the time before and it was no problem, where you would hit capacity on Christmas Day or New Year's Day or what have you. Just have your set capacity, whatever that number is. And if you get in, you get in. And if you don't, you don't. And turn people away and tell them you can go to Epcot, you can go to studios, you can go whatever. But this stupid park pass system and then not being able to park hop until 2 p.m., I want that to go.
God, don't remind me.
Except the park pass, I will keep. I'm okay with keeping the park pass system if you change the park hop and let us park hop whenever we want. Because the reason you had park hop at 2 p.m. was because of Rise of the Resistance and the boarding groups, and now that's gone. Right. So give us park hop back.
Right, and it's gone for Remy too. So like that shouldn't matter anymore either.
But if you're going to do park hop not until 2, like if you're going to just park hop whenever, then what's the point of the park reservation system?
Because they still have to they can still turn you away, and they can still still limit the total number of park passes. And there are going to be people that don't want to go through the trouble of going to tap in at Animal Kingdom before they go to Magic Kingdom. Like I think it's still going to control, but I think the 2 o'clock is arbitrary.
It is arbitrary, but I think the whole thing is arbitrary. Again, I think you should just be able to say, screw it, show up in the morning. If this park has already hit capacity, so sad, so sorry. You can go to one of our other 3 parks or however many parks haven't hit capacity that day. You can't, I mean, yeah, I know like at Christmas and everything, they were hit, park passes were impossible to get. You couldn't get one. But to me, that's no different than before when they would just hit capacity and start turning people away at 9 o'clock because the park was already full of 80,000 people. Yeah. And they would just have to be like, so sorry, you can't get in right now. You can try again later, or you can go to one of the other 3. Yeah. Like, I don't see the difference. So why are we having to jump through hoops to do the park reservation system? Like, even if you're still limiting capacity lower than what it was,
I would.
Math and everything should still be there.
The way the parks have been crowded in the last month or so, you would need to show me a lot of hard evidence for me to believe that you still have reduced capacity in those parks. If you had been at Epcot, on Saturday, that parking lot was filled. I mean, literally, there were hardly any parking spots left when I got there at 3:00 in the afternoon. They are not limiting capacity in Epcot, and the place was mobbed. So I don't understand why that's still a valid argument.
But all the more reason, why are we doing the park reservation system then? Why? And if we are doing the park reservation system, then why could you still get a reservation for that day? Why weren't they already full?
I just want to jump in real quick. Steven gave us a $4.99 super chat. I want Harmony Barbershop reopen. Great show, ladies. Yes, I forgot all about Harmony Barbershop.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steven. Yeah, it's some of those little things, you know. Is Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique's not reopened yet either, right?
Nope.
Yeah, not that I'm a believer in Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique from a sense of I think it's I don't know. It bothers me. That's a different episode.
It's a different discussion. But I was going to say that's also a staffing issue. Yeah, but that's also a staffing issue. Also because on my last trip, I was talking to a couple of former cast members one of them who worked at Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and she told me that, they were letting them go because, again, a lot of those people had been there since it opened and had to be paid a certain amount, and so they wanted to let them all go so they could hire new people and pay them at a lower rate.
And now they can't find new people to hire.
Yeah, now they can't find anyone.
Sorry,
I don't mean to be so cynical today, guys. I apologize. I'm a little salty, apparently.
We wanted to go into this very optimistic, but again, I think that just speaks to the current state of the company.
You're right.
The fact that everything that we're hoping for is not things that we should be hoping for. We should not have to be hoping for an improved guest experience at Walt Disney World. Or any Disney park for that matter.
Walt Disney World is supposed to be setting the bar for guest experience, and they are not.
We should be hoping, this should all have been new attractions and, pie in the sky, all kinds of fun and amazing things. And most of it is we just want the basics back. And that's a sad place to be, unfortunately.
We want the stuff we came to expect as baseline that now seems to be, it seems to be asking for some ridiculous thing to just say I want to have a decent day at Disney World without having to spend extra money just to be able to ride a ride or wait an hour in line for counter service. That shouldn't be too much to ask for, and yet these days it kind of feels like it is. So Disney, fix the guest experience. You know what the problems are. Just bring in more staff. Get rid of those park passes. Get rid of Genie Plus. Give us Fast Pass back.
Or even just fix Genie Plus, but just do something.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you're going to charge people for it, fine. I'll hop to losing that battle, but
or make it included with resort stays.
Yeah, that's what I think, Emma.
You want people, you want to fill your rooms on property. That's one way to do it.
Very true.
All right, ladies. Well, I hate to end this on a bad note, but I do think there's a lot. Disney has given us a lot to hope for because they've taken away a lot that we came to expect, and so now we hope we get it back. And I think that's kind of no surprise that this is how the conversation went, because I think there's a lot of things we're all missing, and hope to get back in the coming year. It would be nice.
It's just a little tough love.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just, you got to tell it like it is.
I mean, I wouldn't call what I said tough love. It was straight up shade from me. But anyway.
Somebody in chat said, hope they bring back the meal plan. I don't think they have the capability to bring back the meal plan while they have such staffing issues.
Because I think they want to. Yeah, I think they want to, because especially like, isn't that one of the most popular things with UK guests in particular, and they're trying to get those people back into the park. So you know, I think they're going to do their darndest to have some kind of meal plan. Like, even if, for instance, even if they can only have the standard and not the deluxe, you know, if that's all they have the capacity for. But who knows? That's a big question mark what that's going to be like.
Yeah, I think they need to fix staffing issues in the restaurants before they can really bring that back.
Yeah.
All right, ladies. Well, with that, I think we can wrap up another wonderful episode. It's been so good talking with you all. Thank you to my co-host Ashley. Thank you to Emma and Shannon. Thanks, of course, to all the people out there in the chat who have been chatting along with us. Thanks to everybody for watching. If you haven't yet, please, on your way out, hit that like button, subscribe to Unplanned Downtime if you hadn't yet. We'd love to have you stick around and get alerts for all of our shows. And with that, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, in 2 Mondays. Our next topic is going to be childless millennials taking over Disney. So that, I think we all probably have some pretty interesting things to say about that. I'm sure you guys out there in the viewing world have some interesting things to say about that too. So come back in a couple weeks. We'd love to have you join us. Yes, big shout out to our WIGS. I'm so sorry I forgot. Huge shout out to our WIGS. Much love to you guys. If you are a WIGS member, don't forget, in 2 days on the 19th, check Patreon. Tom is doing a special monthly now. It's going to be the first monthly Zoom chat that Tom does with the WIGS. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check out Patreon for that post and all the information.
And that's at the 33 level, right?
No, that's for all WIGS. That is for all WIGS. Yep.
Wow.
All WIGS all the time. You don't have to be anybody special. You just have to, you don't have to be one of those crazy but amazing WIGS Ultra members. I know we've got a couple of those hanging out in the chat. All the WIGS all the time. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Good night, everyone.
Night.